Supreme Commander Vex Talon drummed his 7 fingers against the polished obsidian of his command console. His violet eyes narrowed at the holographic display of the unremarkable blue-green planet spinning before him. "So this," he said, his voice dripping with contempt, "is the infamous Earth?" "Yes, Supreme Commander," replied Fleet Captain Zara Q. Lox, standing rigidly at attention. Her scaled skin glimmered under the harsh lights of the bridge. "Home of the humans." "It looks disappointingly ordinary," Vex Talon remarked, flicking one of his secondary appendages dismissively. "The reports from our scouts claimed these creatures were dangerous." "I fail to see how." Zara cleared her throat nervously. "With respect, Supreme Commander, the scout vessels that returned reported unusual resistance patterns. The 3 that didn't return were clearly crewed by incompetence," Vex Talon interrupted, rising from his command chair. He towered over the fleet captain, his ceremonial armor clicking as he moved. "The Gorvan Empire has conquered 37 star systems, subjugated 112 sentient species, and you expect me to believe that these barely space-capable primates pose a threat?" "No, Supreme Commander. I merely suggest caution. Our intelligence indicates their technological advancement has been uneven, primitive in some areas, surprisingly advanced in others." Vex Talon laughed, a harsh sound that made several junior officers on the bridge flinch. "Caution? The Gorvan Empire does not exercise caution. We crush. We dominate. We appropriate what we desire and annihilate what we don't. That is how we became the strongest force in the galaxy." He gestured toward the view screen, which now displayed a closer view of North America. "What is this region? It appears to have significant agricultural output." "The humans call it Iowa, Supreme Commander." "It is indeed one of their agricultural centers." "Perfect. We will begin there. A small demonstration of our power should suffice. Deploy a single battalion to this Iowa. Secure a perimeter and establish a foothold." "The usual protocol." Zara hesitated. "Just 1 battalion, Supreme Commander." Vex Talon turned his gaze to her, his eyes glowing dangerously. "Do you question my orders, Fleet Captain?" "No, Supreme Commander," she replied quickly. "Battalion deployment will commence immediately." "Good. I will be in my quarters. Alert me when they have secured the landing zone." Vex Talon strode from the bridge, his cape billowing behind him. "And Zara?" "Yes, Supreme Commander." "Select Commander Drex Han to lead the battalion. His excessive aggression might finally serve a purpose against these supposedly dangerous humans." Commander Drex Han felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as his drop ship punched through Earth's atmosphere. The vessel shuddered and groaned around him, but he paid it no mind. After countless planetary invasions, this was practically routine. "Status report." He barked into his comm unit. "Atmospheric entry complete, Commander," came the pilot's reply. "Deploying stealth measures now. Local time at the landing zone is approximately 0500 hours. Minimal activity detected." "Excellent. The primitives will still be sleeping." Drex Han turned to address the 200 Gorvan soldiers packed into the troop bay. "Warriors of the Empire, today we claim yet another world for the glory of Gorva. These humans know nothing of true warfare. They will fall before us like all the others." A roar of approval filled the ship, the sound of hundreds of razor-sharp claws scraping against battle armor. "Remember," Drex Han continued, "secure the area, neutralize any resistance, and prepare for the arrival of the harvester ships. The Supreme Commander himself will be observing our progress." The drop ship's engines shifted to landing mode, the high-pitched whine changing to a low rumble as they descended toward an open field. Touchdown in 3, 2, 1. The ship landed with a heavy thud, and the loading ramp immediately began to lower. Drex Han was first out, his enhanced vision cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. Before him stretched vast fields of tall green plants, arranged in perfect rows that extended to the horizon. "Spread out," he ordered. "Secure a perimeter, 1 kilometer radius. Squad leaders report in every 5 minutes. The Gorvan soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, their heavy armor surprisingly quiet as they fanned out across the farmland. Drex Han consulted his tactical display, noting the position of a cluster of structures approximately half a kilometer to the north. He pointed to a nearby lieutenant. Take your squad and investigate those buildings. If you encounter any humans, capture one for interrogation. Kill the rest. Yes, Commander. Drex Han watched as the squad moved off, then turned his attention to establishing the command post. Within minutes, portable shield generators were humming to life, creating a protected zone around the drop ship. Perimeter Team 3 reporting in, Commander, came a voice over the comm. We have reached the designated position. No contact with locals yet. There's some kind of primitive ground vehicle approaching from the east, moving slowly. Disable it and capture the occupants, Drex Han ordered. Acknowledged, Commander. Drex Han smiled to himself. This was going even more smoothly than expected. Perhaps after this successful mission, Supreme Commander Vex Talon would finally promote him to Commander. The panicked voice of his lieutenant cut through his thoughts. We have a situation at the structures. Report, Drex Han snapped. We encountered a human. It killed Sergeant Kriv and 2 others before we could subdue it. Drex Han frowned. 1 human killed 3 Gorvan warriors? Impossible. It used some kind of primitive projectile weapon, Commander. The projectiles penetrated our armor at close range. Unacceptable, Drex Han growled. Where is this human now? We have it contained, Commander, but it's proving difficult to control. I'm on my way. Do not kill it. I want to see this supposedly dangerous creature for myself. Drex Han set off at a brisk pace, flanked by 4 of his elite guards. As they approached the cluster of buildings' primitive structures made of wood and some kind of synthetic material, he could hear the sounds of struggle. Rounding the corner of the largest building, he found 6 of his soldiers attempting to restrain a single human. The creature was surprisingly large for its species, with weathered skin and gray facial hair. Despite being outnumbered, it was putting up a remarkable fight. Enough of this, Drex Han said, stepping forward. He raised his pulse pistol and fired a stun blast that hit the human squarely in the chest. The human staggered but, astonishingly, did not fall. What in the 7 hells? Drex Han muttered, adjusting the setting and firing again. This time, the human dropped to its knees, then face down in the dirt. Secure it properly this time, he ordered his soldiers, who quickly bound the human's limbs with restraint cuffs. The commander, one of the soldiers, called out, "We found these inside." He held up several metal objects. Drex Han took one and examined it. Some kind of primitive weapon? It had a long barrel and a trigger mechanism. Crude, but evidently effective enough to kill 3 of his warriors. "There's more, Commander," said another soldier, emerging from the building. Communication devices and what appears to be a warning system. It activated before we could disable it. Drex Han cursed. So much for the element of surprise. No matter. Even if they know we are here, what can they possibly do about it? He gestured to the unconscious human. Bring that with us. The Supreme Commander might find it amusing. As they began to drag the human back toward the command post, Drex Han's comm unit crackled to life. Commander, Perimeter Team 3 under attack. Multiple human vehicles approaching at high speed. They have weapons. On the transmission cut off abruptly. Team 3 report. Drex Han demanded. Only static answered him. Then another call came in, Commander, Team 7 here. We have lost contact with Teams 3 and 5. Multiple flying craft detected approaching from the west. Drex Han's blood ran cold. This was not going according to plan. All units, battle stations. Prepare for combat. He shouted into his comm. Activate the shield generators at maximum power. He turned to his guards. Get back to the command post now. Bring the human. As they rushed back across the fields, Drex Hahn heard a new sound, the distinctive whine of aircraft engines, growing louder by the second. He looked up to see several black shapes streaking across the lightning sky. "Incoming," he yelled, diving for cover as the first explosions rocked the ground around them. General Miranda Parker studied the live satellite feed on her tablet, her face illuminated by its glow in the dimly lit interior of the Black Hawk helicopter. "Time to target?" she asked, not looking up from the screen. 3 minutes, ma'am," replied the pilot through her headset. Miranda nodded, then addressed the 6 Special Forces operatives seated across from her. "All right, people, here's what we know. At 0512 this morning, an alien vessel landed on Bill Taylor's farm in Johnson County. Bill triggered his panic button before they got him, which means the defensive response protocol is in full effect." "Do we know what we are dealing with, General?" asked Captain Jackson, checking his weapon. "The satellite imagery suggests they are Gorvans, a nasty bunch, responsible for the destruction of the Centauri colony last year." Miranda swiped through several images on her tablet. Standard Gorvan tactics involve a small forward deployment followed by their harvester ships. Once those arrive, it gets much harder to dislodge them. "How many boots on the ground?" asked Lieutenant Alvarez. "Thermal imaging shows approximately 200 hostiles. They have established a perimeter and set up shield generators around their landing craft." Miranda looked up, meeting each soldier's eyes in turn. "This is what we have trained for since first contact 5 years ago. The Gorvans think we are easy prey because we haven't broadcast our military capabilities across the galaxy like some kind of interstellar peacocks." A chorus of grim chuckles filled the helicopter. "The Air Force is already engaging their perimeter forces. Army units are moving in from all sides, and our job is to take out those shield generators and capture their command post if possible." Questions? There were none. None. "Good. Remember, they are tough but not invincible. Their armor has weak points at the joints. Their vision is superior to ours in darkness but can be overloaded by sudden bright light. And they are arrogant, they don't expect serious resistance. So let's show them exactly how serious Earthlings can be." The helicopter began its descent, the sound of distant explosions growing louder. "One more thing," Miranda added as they prepared to deploy. "Bill Taylor is a personal friend and a damn good farmer. I want him back alive if possible." "Yes, ma'am." The team responded in unison, 30 seconds to drop. Called the pilot. Miranda checked her own weapon one last time. "Welcome to Earth, you scaly bastards," she muttered under her breath. Drex Hahn had never experienced a military operation deteriorate so quickly. In less than 20 minutes, his perimeter teams were in disarray, the human counterattack coming from all directions with shocking coordination and firepower. The primitive weapons they wielded were proving surprisingly effective against Gorvan armor, and their aircraft were faster and more maneuverable than expected. Status report. He bellowed into his comm as another explosion shook the ground nearby. "Shields at 60% and falling, Commander," came the harried reply. "We have lost contact with teams 2, 3, 5, and 8. The humans have deployed some kind of jamming technology. We can't reach the fleet." "Impossible," Drex Hahn growled. "Their technology isn't advanced enough for." His words were cut short as a blinding flash erupted nearby, followed by a deafening explosion. One of the shield generators had been destroyed. Defensive positions. Prepare for ground assault. He ordered, raising his pulse rifle and scanning the smoke-filled battlefield. Through the chaos, Drex Hahn spotted movement human soldiers advancing in tactical formation, their weapons spitting fire. They moved with a discipline and precision he hadn't expected from such a supposedly primitive species. And leading them was a human female, her dark skin contrasting with her light-colored armor, barking orders and moving with the confidence of a seasoned warrior. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Drex Hahn felt something unfamiliar stirring in his chest, doubt. As the human forces closed in on his position, a new thought occurred to him, one that would have been unthinkable just an hour ago. Perhaps Supreme Commander Vex Talon had made a terrible mistake. Perhaps they all had. Commander Drexhan crouched behind the smoldering remains of a supply crate, pulse rifle clutched tightly in his clawed hands. The situation had gone from routine planetary subjugation to nightmare in less than an hour. Half his battalion was either dead or unaccounted for, their communications were jammed, and the shield generators were failing one by one. "Commander, what are your orders?" gasped Lieutenant Vorkel, sliding into cover beside him. Purple blood oozed from a wound in his shoulder. "The humans have breached the eastern perimeter." Drexhan snarled, his fangs gleaming in the morning light that now illuminated the battlefield. "Where is the human prisoner?" "Still secured in the command post, Commander, but—" "Good. He may be our only bargaining chip." Drexhan peered over the crate, ducking back down as a hail of bullets struck nearby. "We need to hold out until the fleet sends reinforcements." "About that, sir," Vorkel said hesitantly. "Before communications went down, we received a message from the Supreme Commander. The Harvester ships have been delayed." "Delayed? What do you mean, delayed?" Drexhan grabbed the lieutenant by his armor. "The invasion protocol is clear. The Harvesters should be right behind us." "The humans have orbital defenses, sir." "The fleet detected multiple weapons platforms in high orbit, powered down until our arrival. They activated as soon as we landed." Drexhan released the lieutenant, his mind racing. Orbital defenses? That wasn't in any of the intelligence reports. These humans were supposed to be barely capable of interplanetary travel, let alone possessing the technology to threaten a Gorvan warship. "Sir," Vorkel continued, "there's something else." "Before we lost contact, long-range scanners detected multiple ships approaching from the direction of their moon. They appear to be warships, sir." A cold feeling settled in Drexhan's gut. "How many?" "At least 20, sir, and they are not primitive." The readings suggested advanced propulsion and weapons systems. The ground shook as another explosion rocked their position. Drexhan made a quick decision. A new plan. We fall back to the dropship, taking the human prisoner with us. If we can break through their jamming and reach orbit, perhaps. He was interrupted by a small object landing nearby, bouncing once before rolling to a stop a few meters away. "Grenade," Vorkel shouted, but it was too late. Instead of exploding, the device emitted a blinding flash of light and a deafening sound that sent both Gorvans reeling, their sensitive eyes and hearing overwhelmed by the assault. Through the ringing in his ears, Drexhan heard human voices approaching. Blinking rapidly to clear his vision, he raised his pulse rifle blindly and fired a burst in the direction of the sounds. A strong kick knocked the weapon from his hands, and something hard pressed against his throat. "Don't move," said a female voice, cold and commanding. As his vision cleared, Drexhan found himself staring up at the human female he had spotted earlier. She was pressing the barrel of her weapon against his throat, her dark eyes narrowed. "You speak our language," he managed to say. "We have had 5 years to study yours," she replied. "I'm General Miranda Parker, United Earth Defense Force. You are now a prisoner of war." Drexhan hissed in defiance. "The Gorvan Empire does not surrender. Our fleet will reduce this planet to ash for this affront." Miranda smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Your fleet is currently surrounded by 23 Earth battleships and 4 Arcturian dreadnoughts." "Oh, did we forget to mention our alliance with the Arcturians?" "They were quite eager to help after what your empire did to their colonies." Drexhan felt his blood run cold. "The Arcturians? Impossible. The Gorvan Empire had wiped out their military years ago." "You are lying," he snarled. "Am I? Let me show you something." She pressed a device on her wrist, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed a real-time view of Earth orbit, where the massive silhouette of the Gorvan Command ship was now surrounded by vessels of various designs, energy weapons trained on it from all directions. "Your Supreme Commander is currently entertaining a diplomatic call from our President," Miranda continued. I imagine the conversation is quite illuminating for him. On the bridge of the Gorvan Command ship, Supreme Commander Vex Talon stood rigid with fury as he stared at the human president's image on the main view screen. "This is outrageous," he thundered. "You dare to threaten the flagship of the Gorvan Empire? Your civilization will be erased for this impudence." The human leader, a woman with silver hair and a stern expression, remained unperturbed. "Supreme Commander Vex Talon, I am President Eleanor Martinez of the United Earth Government. Let me be perfectly clear, your forces invaded sovereign Earth territory without provocation, under interstellar law, as recognized by the Galactic Concord. We are within our rights to defend ourselves by any means necessary." "Galactic Concord?" Vex Talon scoffed. "That collection of weaklings holds no authority over the Gorvan Empire." "Perhaps not," President Martinez conceded, "but the combined firepower of the Earth fleet and our Arcturian allies certainly does. Your scans will confirm that we have enough destructive capability to reduce your command ship to atoms. And before you consider calling for reinforcements, be aware that we have already dispatched messenger ships to the Concord. If the Gorvan Empire launches a full-scale attack against Earth, you will face a united response from 17 spacefaring civilizations." Vex Talon's secondary appendages twitched with suppressed rage. He turned to Fleet Captain Zara Kulox, who was monitoring the tactical display. "Is what she says true? Do they have the firepower?" Zara hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Supreme Commander. Their weapons are locked on our primary systems. We would not survive the first volley." Vex Talon turned back to the screen. "You expect me to believe that a primitive species like yours has formed alliances with established galactic powers? That you have advanced warships? This must be some kind of deception." President Martinez sighed. "Supreme Commander, humanity has a long history of disguising our true capabilities. When we made first contact with the galactic community 5 years ago, we made a strategic decision to appear less advanced than we actually are. We observed how your empire treats those it perceives as threats." She gestured, and the display split to show historical footage of Gorvan conquest across the galaxy. "We have been watching you for quite some time, studying your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. We deliberately presented ourselves as an agricultural world with minimal defenses, knowing it would eventually attract your attention. Iowa was the perfect bait." "A trap," Vex Talon said, his voice barely above a whisper. "A test," the president corrected. "One you failed spectacularly. Now, here are your options. Withdraw your forces immediately and agree to recognize Earth's sovereignty or face destruction. The choice is yours." Vex Talon's mind raced. Everything about this situation defied the intelligence reports, defied logic itself. How could they have been so wrong about these humans? "Supreme Commander," Zara said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from Commander Drexhan." "Put it through," Vex Talon ordered. The screen split again to show Drexhan, looking battered and defeated, flanked by human soldiers. "Supreme Commander," Drexhan said, his voice strained, "the humans have captured our ground forces. Their technology and military capabilities far exceed our intelligence assessments. They even have—" He paused, as if the words were difficult to say, "energy weapons reverse-engineered from Arcturian designs." "Impossible," Vex Talon breathed. "I have seen them with my own eyes," Drexhan insisted. "And their orbital defenses, Supreme Commander, they let us land. They wanted us to attack, so they would have justification to respond." President Martinez's expression remained neutral, but there was a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. "As I said, Supreme Commander. A test." Vex Talon felt something he had not experienced in decades of military command uncertainty. The tactical situation was clear. They were outgunned and outmaneuvered. But to retreat would be to admit defeat, something the Gorvan Empire had not done in living memory. "If I agree to withdraw," he said carefully, "what assurances do I have that you won't simply destroy my ship once our weapons are powered down?" "Unlike the Gorvan Empire," President Martinez replied. We respect the principles of honorable combat. Your soldiers on the ground will be treated according to Concord Conventions on prisoners of war and returned to you upon your withdrawal. We seek neither conquest nor retribution, merely recognition of our sovereignty and the promise that the Gorvan Empire will never again threaten Earth or its colonies. Next, Talon's pride warred with his survival instinct. To submit to these demands would be humiliating, but to die in a hopeless battle would serve no purpose. Very well, he said at last. I agree to your terms. The Gorvan Empire will withdraw from Earth space and recognize your sovereignty. The word tasted bitter on his tongue. A wise decision, President Martinez nodded. We will transmit the formal agreement for your signature immediately. Commander Drex Han and your ground forces will be returned via shuttle once you have cleared our solar system. As the transmission ended, Vex Talon turned to Zara, his expression thunderous. Prepare for withdrawal, and assemble the intelligence officers who prepared our briefing on the humans. Their incompetence has cost us dearly. Yes, Supreme Commander, Zara replied, wisely keeping her thoughts to herself. 3 days later, General Miranda Parker sat across from Bill Taylor in the hospital cafeteria, both nursing cups of coffee. The farmer's weathered face was bruised but healing, his arm in a cast where the Gorvan restraints had fractured his wrist. So, Bill said, taking a sip of his coffee, let me get this straight. You folks have known about aliens for 5 years, built a space fleet, formed alliances with other planets, and turned my farm into alien bait, and nobody thought to tell me? Miranda had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. The classified nature of the program required. Oh, save the government, speak for the politicians, Bill interrupted with a wave of his good hand. I'm just trying to figure out if I get hazard pay for having my corn trampled by a bunch of oversized lizards. Miranda laughed despite herself. The Department of Defense will be providing full compensation for damages to your property, plus a stipend for your unexpected participation in national security operations. Damn right they will, Bill nodded. And I want one of those fancy alien detectors installed, not just the panic button. Next time someone from outer space decides to park on my corn, I want at least 5 minutes warning so I can put on pants before I start shooting. I think that can be arranged, Miranda smiled. Your shotgun took down 3 Gorvan soldiers, you know. Their commander couldn't believe it. Their armor is designed to deflect energy weapons, not lead buckshot. Bill shrugged, wincing slightly at the movement. My granddaddy always said, sometimes the old ways work best. Guess that applies to alien invasions, too. Well, your old ways gave us exactly the incident we needed. The Gorvan Empire has formally recognized Earth's sovereignty and agreed to a non-aggression pact. More importantly, word of their defeat is spreading through the galactic community. No one expected the mighty Gorvans to retreat from a backwater agricultural world. Bill chuckled. Bet that's got their tails in a twist. You have no idea. Their supreme commander is facing a significant challenge to his authority. Apparently, losing to primitives is frowned upon in Gorvan society. So what happens now? Bill asked, suddenly serious. They will be back, won't they? Folks like that don't take humiliation lying down. Miranda's expression hardened. If they return, they will find we are even better prepared. The Arcturians are helping us upgrade our defense grid, and 3 more civilizations have approached us about alliances since the Gorvan incident. And my farm? Still going to be on the front lines? Actually, Miranda said with a small smile, we are considering establishing a proper military base in the area. The president is pushing for it to be named Fort Taylor, in recognition of your contribution. Bill stared at her for a long moment, then burst out laughing. Fort Taylor? Lord Almighty, my grandfather would roll over in his grave. He spent his whole life cursing the government, and now they are naming a military base after the family. Miranda grinned. Life is full of ironies, Mr. Taylor. That it is, General. That it is. Bill raised his coffee cup in a toast, to human ingenuity and alien overconfidence. May we always have more of the former than the latter. I will drink to that, Miranda replied, clinking her cup against his. In the dimly lit command chamber of the Gorvan Imperial Palace, Supreme Commander Vex Talon knelt before the Emperor, his head bowed in shame. You have failed me, Vex Talon, the Emperor said, his voice a low rumble that filled the vast space. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Gorvan Empire has retreated from battle. Yes, most exalted one, Vex Talon replied, not daring to look up. The humans were, not as they appeared, so your report indicates. The Emperor tapped his claws against the arm of his throne, a deception of galactic proportions, a primitive agricultural world that is, in fact, a hidden military power with advanced technology and powerful allies. The intelligence was flawed, most exalted one. I accept full responsibility. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Vex Talon prepared himself for the death sentence that surely awaited him. Vex Talon. Surprised, Vex Talon got to his feet, finally daring to look at his ruler. The Emperor's ancient face was thoughtful rather than angry. This failure is instructive, the Emperor said. For too long we have relied on brute force and intimidation. We have become predictable. These humans anticipated our every move because they studied us, while we merely glanced at them and saw what we expected to see. Most exalted one? We must learn from this defeat, Vex Talon. The galaxy is changing. New alliances form while we remain isolated in our perceived supremacy. The Emperor leaned forward. I am appointing you to a new position. You will establish a diplomatic corps within our military structure. Your first task will be to gather genuine intelligence about these humans and their allies. Vex Talon blinked in shock. Diplomacy, most exalted one? But our tradition has always been. Traditions must evolve or die, the Emperor cut him off. The humans defeated us not through superior firepower, but through superior strategy. They turned our aggression against us. We must understand this species better before we confront them again. As you command, most exalted one, Vex Talon bowed his head. Do not mistake me, Vex Talon. This is not forgiveness for your failure. It is an opportunity to redeem yourself by ensuring it never happens again. The Gorvan Empire will return to Earth one day, but when we do, we will be prepared for their tricks. As Vex Talon left the Imperial chamber, his mind was already racing with plans. The humans had outsmarted them once, using the Gorvan's own prejudices against them. It would not happen again. In a distant sector of the galaxy, on a small blue-green planet, a farmer stood in his newly replanted cornfield, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, he knew, were aliens who had made the mistake of underestimating humans. He chuckled to himself as he turned toward his farmhouse, now equipped with the latest in alien detection technology. Let them come back, he thought. Next time he'd be wearing pants. The galaxy's strongest empire had attacked a human farm. It had been a very big mistake. But somehow, Bill Taylor suspected, it wouldn't be their last.